I love circle skirts, but hemming them was never included in that love. I found a method, however, that I kind of liked and that made it a lot neater and a lot easier. Hemming with bias tape. This is what the result of that looks like. I show you how I did it on the pinafore skirt that you see here, along with some extra footage to make each step a little clearer. The first step to successfully hemming a circle skirt is to let it hang for at least 24 hours. Circle skirts have sections that are cut on the bias, and these parts can stretch over time because of gravity. If you hem the skirt straight away, the hem can end up uneven later. It also helps to give the skirt time to settle into its natural drape. You need a piece of bias tape that is 5 centimeters or 2 inches longer than the circumference of the hem of your skirt. I opened up the bias tape and then I pinned it to the right side of the skirt. With the right side, I mean the front of your skirt or the outside of your skirt. Then I sewn this in that little fold that the bias tape has all around the skirt. You also have to join the ends. That's why the bias tape is a little bit longer than your skirt. Then I press the seam. This takes some time, especially with a long full circle skirt, but please take the time to do this as this is the key to making the result look neat. Then I flipped the bias tape to the other side of the skirt. So now you should be working on the inside or the back of your skirt. And I pressed and pinned this close. Then I did a neat stitch around the bias tape and gave this a good press. And that's how you finish a skirt with bias tape. One important thing to note is that you should match the weight of your bias tape to the weight of your fabric. If your bias tape is heavier or stiffer than your fabric, it can pull on the hem and create a rippled or stiff edge instead of a smooth drape. So, as a general rule, use bias tape that is the same weight or lighter than your fabric. If you want to make your own bias tape, that's really easy. I'll show you how to do that in a minute. You can use the same fabric as your skirt, but using a different color can also give the inside of your skirt a little extra detail. And before judging the final effect of the bias tape, I recommend letting the finished skirt hang for another 24 hours, as this gives the fabric and the bias tape time to settle into their natural drape. How to make your own bias tape, just a little FYI. I'm recycling this footage from another video. I cut a rectangle, then I folded this diagonally and cut it in half so that I had two rectangles. Then I laid the two rectangles together so that they would form a parallelogram. Then I sewn this with half a centimeter or a quarter inch seam allowance and pressed it flat. Next, I folded it like this and I marked the first line. This line will form the width of my bias tape. I wanted a width from 3.6 centimeters. That is the same size as my ruler. Next, I pinned the other side of the fabric underneath this line. And I sewn this again with half a centimeter or a quarter inch seam allowance. After I pressed the seam, I marked the rest of the lines around the loop with my ruler. And then I cut the bias tape. And here you can see how stretchy and bendable the tape is. Next, I put it through my bias tape maker. I ordered this set from Amazon. I link it down below. It's not expensive and it's a very easy to use. That was it. Thank you so much for watching all the way until the end. I hope that this was useful to you. Let me know what you think or any additional tips you have in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!